something?
Yes.
Waba so selfish, you didn't even consider Mia's feelings and my feelings.
I was about to say that. Contextually.
If anyone had told me that 4 out of the 6 couples would still be together a year later, I would say that's a lie. That's a lie. But I'm surprised. I really am surprised that they're still together. And I don't get it. The couples that I thought would be together are the ones that have split. And it's like, make it make sense. And so Butlele was lying to everyone to say that he only had sex with Mia once. It seems like he was busy. That's all he was doing during that experience in Mujolo. He's the one who had the most excitement and the most enjoyment in Mujolo. And the audacity to do it, knowing that he's being filmed for a TV show, is still puzzling to someone like me. It's still puzzling to someone like me. But anyway, hey there. Thanks for stopping by. It's your girl Valerie. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, please don't forget to subscribe. I want to thank everyone that subscribed. Click the like button, turn on the notification bell for when I upload new videos, share, and definitely leave a comment. In this episode, I'll be reviewing Love Never Lies, South Africa, Season 1, Episode 8, The Reunion. Everybody looks good. Everybody looks good. I love it. I love it. Everybody looks good. So it's the reunion and everybody's brought their best. Even the girls, I didn't like their wigs on the show, or they were terrible. But at least this time they've got everybody laid. And Millie is just bringing it as usual. She is, oh my God, I love her wardrobe. I wish I could go and drop it. But anyway, so we have all the 6 couples come back. And then you have Millie sort of ask them, who's still together and who's separated. And sadly, 2 of the couples have broken up. Really sad, really sad. So you have Clayton and Wilfred, they're still together. You have Sia and Pretty, they're still together. There's no way they would have broken up unless Pretty wanted them to break up. Naledi and Nikki are still together. Kuda and Maka have split up. Lynn and Kuda have split up. And then you have, of all the couples to still be together, you have Nancy and Butlele. And it's like, what the hell do you mean? What do you mean? How are these 2 people still together? I don't get it. Anyway, we get to see, a little snippet of Sia. We're getting an update, and Pretty, they have moved in together. So they apparently found a new place to stay. All we saw was part of the house. I don't know what sort of house they moved into. I don't know whether they moved into someone's little cottage or whatever it is, but it was nice. He had a snippet of them in the house with Pretty dancing and Sia just sitting there. Sia is just a humble soul. He's just a humble soul who wants peace and quiet. And whatever makes Pretty happy, he's happy with. And it's like, oh my God, we all need a man like Sia. We really need a man like Sia because he's up for anything that will make his wife happy. They update us that, he finally got to meet Pretty's family. So he got to meet Pretty's mom, and then they had him do the barbecue, the braai. And so that was really cute. That was cute. And then obviously they started talking. And so Pretty was being asked, because everybody felt some type of way about if we're being honest, let's keep it 100. Everybody felt some type of way about the way Pretty spoke to Sia, about the way Pretty spoke, sort of treated him like he was nothing. So Pretty's asked, how are you guys? How are you coping? She says, oh, we're much better. We now have a lot of love and respect for one another. Even though he's not my type, I still respect him. And then she points out that Hotsa is her type. And she told him he's her type. And it's like, Pretty, please keep quiet. Please keep quiet. So you have the rest of the group, say you have, Naledi, Lynn and Maka say, we felt some type of way about the way Pretty treated, Sia. Sia didn't deserve to be treated like that. And Pretty has the audacity to say, oh, I felt like people were encouraging him and they were turning my man against me. I felt disrespected because when Malay was laying on Sia, nobody said anything. When Sia was taking body shots off Malay's body, nobody said anything. And it's like everybody was happy because he was emancipated. He was finally free to do what he wanted to do. So the idea that you'd expect anyone to call him out, sorry, you're in La La Land on your own. No one was going to call him out. Everyone was going to allow him to be and live his best life, because at the end of the day, this was the freedom he deserved. And this was the freedom he needed. And I'm happy that nobody apologized. I am happy they didn't apologize to her, because she didn't deserve an apology for the way she treated him. She was looking for an excuse of something to complain about. And sadly, she complained about the wrong group because they didn't even seem bothered by a comment. Malay is crazy, because she sends a snippet, and one would think, she'd send a snippet of, oh, hi Sia, how are you? I hope you're doing well, and I hope you are able to grow during our time together, and that your relationship is going great. No, she was busy flirting with him and saying, when are you coming to give me babies, and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, Malay is crazy. She knows how to get under Pretty's skin, and I'm actually surprised. I think Pretty has matured. I think she has. I said this before, that people being on the show will either grow you or destroy you, because she didn't react in a negative way, but she did speak about the fact that apparently Malay sent text messages to Sia sort of flirting with him, and he eventually just stopped responding. And it's like, this girl is crazy. She's just doing it just because she wants something to talk about, I think, because at the end of the day, as Kotze said, she's not his type and he can't afford her. So I'm happy that, they left it at that. Then you had snippets of Pretty. Oh my God, I didn't realize she had done all that. I really didn't realize she had done all that, the flirting with the guys, I think, were the judges. They were judging the girls when they were coming to flirt. It was cute to see how they sort of filled their time during filming. And so I really love that. And Sia loves this woman. He worships the ground she walks on. So whatever she does is game with him. Because they then had a conversation, and they were sort of asked, Sia, what is it you like about your wife, your girl? And he said, our relationship started off as friendship. So that's what I love about her, because we were friends first before we became lovers. So I love her. And then you had, surprisingly, I think people telling her guy that he needs to stand up for himself was good enough for her to sort of change her way she speaks about him, because she said, oh, he healed my heart. He healed me through everything I'd been through. I was able to recover from that because of Sia. And it's like, Sia is the definition of love. Love is kind. Love is patient. Love does not judge. And you could see that. And so I hope she continues every morning to appreciate this guy, because the Malays of the world are waiting in the wings, and they will come and snap him up from her. Next up is Maka and Khotze. Anyone surprised that they split? No, let's be honest. Let's be for real. No one is surprised that they split. They were always going to split because they're very young. I think they're about 22, 21, 23, somewhere thereabouts. So no one should be surprised that they split. No one should be surprised. Apparently, when they won the money, they actually agreed that they were together. But it seems they then broke up, made up. And it's like, oh my God, how long can this continue? This on and off. You have Maka. Maka is in her feelings. She is in her feelings, if we're going to be honest. Because she feels like this guy wasted her time. But then at the same time, he's only 22, 23. What does she expect of him? He's still at a stage whereby he's still living his best life. So the idea that guys mature slower than girls, and so the idea that she'd expect him to be on the same level as her, I don't get it. He was always going to, be lagging behind. And he feels some type of way because he feels like Maka is just throwing him under the bus. And I understand where she's coming from, that she wanted someone who was all... I feel like Maka wanted a social media type of relationship. And that's the problem with most people, because they want social media relationships, but they're not willing to put in the work to actually get the social media relationship. So this is why relationships for people who are influencers mainly always struggle, because they set such a high standard and then they're not able to attain it. Apparently, she went on a cruise, came back from the cruise. He was out with these guys. He never came to see her. So she felt some type of way. So according to him, they broke up, and then they made up, and they broke up because he kept going out with his friends. And every time he was going out with his friends. And it's like, what does she expect from him? I really don't get it. Lynn is saying that, she implied that, Khotze is beneath Maka because she's more mature. And it's like, the two of them are not. They're not yet mature. Maka is petty, and Khotze is petty as well. You had Nikki sort of step in and sort of call out, Khotze, that you're always got a butt, instead of acknowledging her feelings. And it's like, let's be 50-50. If we're going to hold his feet to the fire and you say you don't listen to her feelings, who is holding her to the fire to say, you don't take into consideration his feelings? This is the problem they have. And Clayton was right to say the two of you are very self-absorbed, so so selfish that you don't have time for anyone else, and this was never going to work because of that. You need to be willing to compromise. You need to be willing to put somebody else first. And it's not them. They're not at that stage in their lives. Maybe in their late 20s, they will reunite. I have a feeling, if I were to put money down, I have a feeling they will end up together. I feel like there's a lot of love between them, but I think they're not yet ready to receive each other's love. I think it will need time and experience for them to realize it. If they don't end up together, they are going to always be each other's. I wish I had paid more attention to my partner. That's the impression that I get. Apparently, Maka was complaining that, he was seen at a club by one of her friends with another girl who wasn't her. So they fell out and they broke up again. And it's like, wow, what did you expect? If I were a betting woman, I would say that he might have been with Lynn, because he appeared to really like her and appeared to have a lot of patience and care and compassion for her. So I wouldn't be surprised if he had been seeing someone, if he decided to see someone, then she was going to be it, because she seemed... She looked physically, she looked like Maka, but she was a more calmer version of Maka. And I think with the way Khotse is so out there, she would have been an ideal match. But I think with Maka, once they've matured and they've attained whatever they're trying to attain, they will come back together. Apparently, it seems though they want the money, they haven't used the money. They have thoughts of what they want to do. You have, Khotse saying he wants to get veneers, and then the rest of his money is going to invest because he doesn't want him to sort of be distracted by that. And I'm like, how much is 720,000 rand? Or how much will he buy? I don't know. I really don't know. So it's going to be interesting long term to see what they plan to do. Maka says she's dating someone, well, sort of dating, and he sends her messages, he sends her flowers. And it's like, I don't think this is true. I think she's just saying this to rub it in his face and get him to feel some type of way, but I don't think it's true. Next up is Nikki and Naledi. These people crack me up. They really do. And for me, watching this conversation makes me realize that the producers were smart in how they split the couples down, because they knew it was going to be a hot mess if they had put certain people in Villa Mjolo together. Had they put Kuda, Botlekle, Khotse, and Naledi, and then who else? I wonder who else from the other couple. Who they would have put Pretty. That house would have been on fire. The deeds that no one can discuss would have come out of that house, because they were the most toxic people in their couples. Oh, and Clayton. I forgot about Clayton. That house would have been a hot mess. It would have been a hot mess because they live for the drama. They live for the toxicity. And apparently, Naledi and Nikki were split up after the show because there was an issue whereby you had Naledi seeing someone behind Nikki's back. And it's like, oh my God, this is a hot mess. Why would you see someone behind somebody's back if they are open to you being polyamorous? Why not just let them know? And then they can decide whether or not they're happy to be in this couple with you. Why do you need to sort of be deceitful? The way Nikki found out, apparently she had the spiritual awakening. She had this revelation that, your partner is seeing somebody else. They had a conversation and realized that, yes, it was true. And for some time, Naledi moved out of the family home and then eventually came back home when it was time. And it was like, nah. You need to make a choice. If you are committing yourself to someone and you're saying you're happy to live with someone who's polyamorous, then you have to be on board for that. Yeah, I get where she's coming from by saying, at least I expected to be told, and I wasn't told. I would have loved to be told, to say, this is where we are, this is what's happening. It makes sense. It really does make sense. But at the end of the day, you can't always control everything. You can't always decide what works for the two of you. This is why I was saying, if it was me, I would have struggled, because I can't live in constant fear of what's going to happen. And look, now it's happened. And so who do I think Naledi hooked up with? I think it's the girl from the show, because they really seem to have great chemistry. Because some people were really hooked up by the producers. They were given the person that they want. Others were just saddled with whatever was there on the plate. But most of them were given what they wanted, and that's why they went wild. People like Botlekle, he was given his dream girl. If he had his way, Sia would have got away with whatever if there were no cameras. But because of Pretty and because of his fear of Pretty, this is why he didn't do anything. Obviously, apparently, Pretty, Sia, and Lynn were there for Nikki when she was going through it after Naledi moved out of the family home. And then they eventually reached an understanding and, she came home. And it's like, I don't get it. I really don't get it. Mimi is right to say that at the end of the day, Naledi got everything she wanted. She wanted a partner who was monogamous, and yet she could continue to be polyamorous. That's the impression that I get, and that's how it seems like it's played out. I don't know how long they can sustain this, or whether this is something that's going to be healthy for them long term. But if they're happy in their relationship, amazing. Next up is Clayton and Wilfred. I didn't realize that apparently prior to the show they lived in Cape Town. So they've recently moved to Johannesburg. They're so excited. They're Airbnb-ing until they find a place that they can call home. They seem to be in a very good place. Obviously, they have proposed and are engaged to be married. But what they've decided is they're going to move in together in Joburg. And then eventually, hopefully in a year's time, they will set a date for their wedding. And everyone is excited for them. They have discussed the fact that the cheating scandal, and they have got to a place whereby Clayton has decided that he's going to stop flirting because he doesn't like the way it makes his partner feel. So he's decided he's not going to flirt with anyone. He's going to focus on his relationship and his partnership with Wilfred, and he's going to silence all the noise. Apparently he doesn't follow Sim or anywhere else bar on TikTok. I think seeing Wilfred with somebody else is what did it. I think seeing all these people on this experiment, I think seeing their partner with somebody else is what did it for them, and was enough to convince them that this road that you're going down ain't it. You need to stop your ways, otherwise you're going to lose your partner. So I'm not surprised that, he says he stopped flirting. Hopefully he does. And I think moving maybe to Johannesburg, it will be better for them if they're going to be influencers, maybe, because it could be that's where the nightlife is, or that's where the influencers are. And so I can't wait to see what they do. I know they were one of the most loving and peaceful couples, and they were asked, how did it feel to come second place? And they said it doesn't feel good. It really doesn't feel good, because they're only a couple of lies away from money that is life-changing. And so you have Maka say, we always said that if it was about truth and love, you would have won. But sadly, we, told more truths than, she more or less implied that they weren't as in love as the other couple, but they told more truths, and that's why they won, because it was love never lies. And so I don't know. I think they're going to be great friends, the whole group of them. They seem to really get along. They seem to have really supported each other throughout the experience, because at the end of the day, even when people were calling out Pretty, they weren't doing it out of malice. They were doing it out of love and care and compassion for Sia, because they didn't like the way he was being treated, which is totally different to how the cast from the ultimatum behaved. And so I don't know really. What do I think? I think they will create a good friendship and a good network, especially for Clayton and Wilfred, who have moved from Cape Town. But long term, I don't know what will happen with the group. Next up is Kuda and Lynn. Does anyone want to lie and say that they're surprised that they broke up? No, not really. Because you could tell they loved each other, but they were not in love with one another. That was the problem. And because they'd been through a lot, the history was what was affecting any growth that they could ever made in that relationship. So it would have been wasting each other's time had they continued to try and sort of make that work. You hear that, they broke up. Lynn says she broke up with him because of Maka, and it's like, this is not a good look, because you already had Nkosi saying Maka has to be involved in every single thing that's going on. I think the two girls going on the show told them the truth about themselves and the guys that they were in relationships with. And because of that, they became each other's support system in transitioning from their relationships into new relationships. And in their new relationships, I don't know whether they'll have what they're looking for. You had Vizo rock up because Lynn had said she had a crush on Vizo. Vizo was Kuda's best friend. He lived, not best friend per se, but he was someone Kuda lived with for about 4 or 5 years. And so Lynn was excited to see him. She was all giddy. She ran to give him a hug. She asked, if she could hug him, and then they were talking. He was eventually asked, do you have a crush on Lynn? He said, yes, I do. And it's like, this is a hot mess. This is a hot mess. How are you going to... I understand having a crush on someone like a musician or whatever. Yes, he is a musician from Botswana, but at the end of the day, how will you look at him knowing that he's your ex's best friend, or he was your ex's housemate? How are the two of you going to be intimate, knowing that history? Or maybe I'm just a bit of a, of a snob. I'm a bit, uppity, because I don't think I could be able to be a girlfriend to someone who was friends with my ex and someone who actually lived with my ex, so they know each other very well on an intimate basis. Vizo revealed that he also had a crush on Lynn, and he was asked, would you ever consider dating her? And he said, well, I would need to speak to Kuda first. And it's like, this is not a good look. Why are the two of you doing this? I really don't get it. It comes across as petty and a bit, I don't know how to describe it. Yes, you had Clayton say he lived in the house with them, so they were the mommy and the daddy of the group, and he really likes them together. And it's like, but the way they came to be is what's messy. The way they came to be. It could be Kuda invited his friend to be on the show because he wanted his friend to get exposure. So the idea that it's gone from that and now he's possibly interested in dating his ex is not a good look. Whereas with Jose and Maka, I see probably them sort of reuniting at a later date. These two, Kuda and Lynn, are done. They're done for each other, and I think it's time for them to move on. And I'm happy that they've decided to move on. But I don't think Vizo should be in this equation. I think he should focus on his own stuff and the exposure that he's got from the show and keep it running and not look back to go to his friend's ex. Last but not least is Buhlehle and Nancy. I'm surprised they're sitting on the same couch, let alone the fact that they're still together. You could never have prepared me for this to happen. Apparently, they're still together. They say they're happy. Nancy says she's forgiven him. And I'm like, why? How? Give me the patience and the grace, because I don't have that. I really don't have it. And for her to say, she struggled a lot to sort of deal with the fact that it sort of embarrassed her on international TV, and she struggled to find her talent, her gift, because she was going through a lot because of it, and the fact that, she didn't have all the facts of what exactly happened with him and Mia. And for him to say, I felt bad. I had to work hard to win my woman, and it was a struggle for me to see her really go through all that for the mistake that I made. And Netflix and Mimi said, hold our beer, because they brought out Mia. And so Mia was there, and the producers are messy because they knew that Nancy was wearing red. So the idea or the audacity to have, the other woman wear red as well was just a bit too much. And you could tell Mia was really uncomfortable. And I want to thank the cast because they made her feel welcome. They didn't look at her as like, oh, you did this to our friend. No, they didn't. They just sat there and they watched her and they welcomed her into the group and sort of listened as she spoke about her experience with Buhlehle. Apparently, it wasn't just a one-off thing that he said, oh, it was only 3 seconds. No, apparently they were flirting for a while, and then there was touching. There was other bits that are not sex, but are close to sex, some type of sex. There were bits of them, sort of having stuff in the toilet, away from the cameras. So he was very sly in what he was doing. As long as stuff was not being caught on camera, he was happy to go along and get along with everything. And so the idea that he had sex multiple times with this woman and didn't tell his partner is shocking. The idea that he lied to everyone and said it was only 3 seconds is shocking, because you had Mia sort of give details, and she said at one point, I wanted to ask for plan B because I know myself, I know I'm very fertile, and he refused for me. He was saying no, then people will start to wonder what happened. And it's like, why are you refusing? You refuse to use protection on yourself, but you're refusing her the opportunity to protect herself. Why? And I don't get it. I know networks do, I would assume they do, screening for STIs, because there's a risk that if somebody is suddenly infected, then they could be sued. So I would assume that bit they do. But still, at the same pace, where was your common sense? Where was your common sense that I'm on international TV? Wherever someone has access to the internet and has a Netflix account, they're going to see me. Where was it? I don't want to sort of give Mia a pass because she's just as much involved as he is, but the fact that she is willing to tell her truth and he was willing to lie and sort of sustain his relationship through a lie doesn't make sense. I love the fact that she called him selfish, and you also had Nancy agree that he is selfish because he didn't think of anyone else but himself. He did what was in his best interest so that he could continue with life as he planned it. He wasn't bothered about whatever everybody else was doing or what was important to anybody else. And so for them to say, oh, they found out that she was pregnant, I don't know why Nancy put herself in this position. I really don't. I don't get it, because at the end of the day, this man has shown you who he is on international TV. If you don't remember, I would assume Netflix, once you've been on it, they give you, an account for life. I would assume you can still log in and see what he did. And so for everyone to be shocked that, oh my God, there was more events that happened outside of that. And apparently Sia and one of the other girls, I think it's Nikki or Star, actually knew, because you had Mia speak to them after she had sex with him and said, oh, I need to speak to someone about, plan B, because I know myself, I'm very fertile, and he is refusing for me to do that. And it's like, why is he refusing? You're not his partner, you're not his wife. Why is he refusing for you to protect yourself? At the end of the day, you have to do what's in your best interest. He's already got a child with somebody else, and now he's got a child with Nancy. Then you come with another little one. Make that make sense? I feel sorry for her. I really do. And I have to give kudos to Nancy for apologizing, even though she wasn't involved in this scandal. She apologized to Mia that, I'm sorry you had to go through this, because had they not been on the show, poor Mia wouldn't have gone through this. Yes, I'm saying poor Mia, but at the end of the day, she consented to this. For Butler not to apologize, I don't get it. He should have apologized to his partner. He should have apologized to Mia. He went round in circles until he eventually finally had no choice but to get to an apology. And then he went round in circles around Mia, and I never heard an apology. I don't know whether anybody else heard an apology. I don't know. I don't get it. Anyway, this was an amazing, amazing season. Kudos to South Africa. They did an amazing job. I really loved this season. I had a great time. This is my first time with the franchise, the Love Never Lies franchise. I will be watching and reviewing other countries as they come up. And this was good. I enjoyed it. I really did. I can't wait to see what else South Africa has to offer, because the ultimatum was on point. The Love Never Lies was on point. South Africa is bringing Africa on the map, and I love it for them. Anyway, thanks guys for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe, and click the link in my video to watch my review from episode 7. Bye everyone.